Dear all, welcome to the webinar, Aviation Perspective, Customer Focus in COVID-19 Era, jointly organized by University of Petroleum and Energy Studies and Aerotech Support Services. We have in this seminar a whopping 1,000 plus registrations, just an indication of how important the topic and how keen we all are in finding the way forward. A very warm welcome to all registered aviation professionals, practicing managers, consultants, faculty fraternity in management, logistics, aviation, and aerospace, students, and participants from across the globe. Dear participants, you are seeing on the screen our expert panelists and speakers and the organizers. And as I go on welcoming the speakers, I request the speakers to please identify yourself as I briefly introduce you. Thanks. We have with us Mr. Sunil Bhaskaran. Mr. Sunil Bhaskaran is CEO and MD at AirAsia India, thorough seasoned professional from the Tata Group. Sir, you're most welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm really delighted to join this panel. Thank you.
Sir, Mr. Vivek Anand Chourey, Executive Director Operations, Airports Authority of India, New Delhi, heading a key position in largest airport operation in India. Sir, you're welcome. Mr. Vivek Chourey. Mr. Parvez Damania, who is setting up new benchmarks in customer service in Indian aviation ever since, an entrepreneur at heart. Sir, you're most welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Great initiative. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, sir. Mr. S. Dupare, Chief Executive Officer, Indian Oil Skytanking Private Limited, seasoned oil industry professional and an expert in aviation fueling setups and operations. So you're welcome. We have amongst us Mr. G.P. Gupta, Chief Strategy Officer, SpiceJet, hardcore aviation professional, holding up a key position. So you're most welcome.
Thank you.
We have Dr. Ashwani Khanna, Executive Director, Aerotech Support Services, and the Director at KSU Aviation Private Limited, a visionary entrepreneur in the area of aviation. Sir, you're welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. I am honored to be part of this conference.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Geeta Hegde is here, the Dean of School of Business, a leader in academics with over 3 decades of experience. Ma'am, you're most welcome.
Thank you, Sheetal. Thank you, Sheetal.
Yes, ma'am. From the university organizing team, you see Dr. Tarun Dhingra. Dr. Dhingra, can you wave? Professor, Strategic Management.
Hello, everyone.
Professor, Strategic Management and General Management and Assistant Dean Research.
Hello, everyone.
Dr. Neeraj Anand, Professor and HOD Transportation Management. He heads the department running Logistics and Supply Chain course, and Aviation is one of those courses. Dr. Anand. We have Mr. Akhil Damodaran, Assistant Professor in the area of Strategic Management. Sir.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
I am Dr. Sheetal Khanka. I am Deputy Director, International Relations at University of Petroleum and Energy Studies and Associate Professor in the area of Organizational Behavior. Before we move on in this webinar, I would just like to briefly tell you that how did the idea of the webinar originated. Of course, it is amidst the problems and VUCA world that we are in because of the COVID-19 situations, the challenges that we face. The idea of the webinar emerged from the recent survey we performed to check how comfortable and confident the passengers are to resume air travel. Yes, some very revealing information emerged that while a lot of efforts were put across by airlines and airports, the passengers were either not fully aware of the efforts or they were not very confident to fly. This webinar will be an important step towards gathering a structured opinion involving different stakeholders in the aviation industry with a focus towards the customers. This will be a part of a short series of webinars to follow with different stakeholders and their respective perspective on evolving situation and how it unfolds and becomes a new norm in the COVID-19 era. So with this, I would request our Dean, Dr. Geeta Hegde, to welcome the August gathering, speakers, and the participants. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Geeta.
Thank you, Sheetal. Thank you so much. A very warm welcome to all the participants. Firstly, I know you are expecting and looking forward to a great webinar today with the stalwarts that you can see who are present in front of you and the amount of experience that they have, and I'm sure they will be able to give you solutions to most of the disruptive problems that we are seeing today, especially in the airline industry. I think the flyers are not very confident on flying, and the customers are very worried about so many things, and this is a very, very surreal environment. And I think no better people than the expert speakers today who will be telling you how to handle this situation. Good morning, and a very warm welcome to each one of you. So let me speak briefly about UPES. UPES, a university with a purpose, focuses on developing professional talent to take on the challenge of the future. Now, this is one of the pioneering university that focuses on domain specialized program and looks at multidisciplinary aspect for the students, which is perhaps very, very important for the future, and especially to handle disruptive environment as such that we face today. We offer our students a personalized learning environment. The university offers unique and specialized undergraduate and postgraduate programs across School of Business, School of Engineering, School of Computer Science, School of Design, School of Law, School of Health Sciences, and we are adding on School of Agriculture, Smart Agriculture, and School of Modern Media. Now you can see the multidisciplinary aspect or the multidisciplinary opportunity that is given to each student who enrolls to the university. In fact, I must also say we are one and only one university in the country to get Great Place to Work certification second time around. In fact, this is something which there is no other university, perhaps even in the globe, that focuses on people first, and perhaps process and work second. So this is where we look after our people also and our faculty fraternity also. School of Business, one of the pioneering schools in the University of UPES, is a pioneer in offering domain specialized undergraduate and postgraduate programs. With more than 100 world-class subject matter experts as faculty, we are consistently ranked among one of the top business schools in the country. In fact, if there is any domain specialization consultancy that is required from the world over, there are universities across the world looking at School of Business, UPES, for their expert advice. In today's global business landscape, as you can see, the disruption is a new normal. At School of Business UPES, we have embraced this challenge in the way we teach, share knowledge, and conduct research. Now, I must tell, one of the solutions that has come up today is based out of a problem, a business problem that our very own research scholar, Dr. Ashwani Khanna, had started through as a PhD scholar at School of Business. So this we percolate down to the students as well, and the learning environment is essentially business problem oriented, and then providing solutions to the industry. Now this is something that we focus on in our school especially. Also speaking about today's webinar, we all know that airports across the world needs to reduce the human contact points during check-in, departure, and boarding due to COVID-19 outbreak. Now, this solution is not only for the touch point or the front end, across the supply chain or across every point we can add value to the customer, as we can see, and that is extremely essential to gain the confidence of the customers in the aerospace industry. So how do the airports know the number of counters, security staff to allocate, and most importantly, how many airlines can be accommodated in the given time? These kind of solutions or back-end solutions, which is extremely important to support the front end and give value to the customer, is something that the airports and the aerospace needs to see. So University of Petroleum and Energy Studies have come up with the solution to optimize the asset utilization and maintain social distancing norms among travelers at the airport. Aeroopt, I think Dr. Tarun Dhingra, part of the team that worked along with Mr. Khanna, will speak about this Aeroopt tool. Aeroopt is a management tool, scientifically calculates the optimum number of resources to be allocated to an airline in a given time so that airports follow social distancing norm, which perhaps will be the new normal for a long time to come, while knowing that they are utilizing their capacity at the level determined. Now, how do you make profit? How do you also maintain profit? And how do you also maintain customer value? And how do you also give customers the confidence? Because what is happening now is a very, very strange situation. And I think, people are hesitant or finding it very difficult to think of flying at the pace that everybody used to fly earlier. So to this effect, my team, Dr. Tarun, Dr. Sheetal Kanka, and Professor Akhil Damodaran have supported and worked with Dr. Ashwani Khanna, Executive Director of Aerotech Support, and have come out with a solution which is now marketed by Aerotech Support Services to various airports. And I think this is going to be a value addition to every airport. And I congratulate the team for doing such a wonderful work. And this is what we actually teach our students also. We at School of Business have more than 200 research scholars who, and 80% of the research scholars are middle and senior level executives from various sectors and various companies. And all our research problems, all our research, work is based on a business problem, and that is how we promote, or that is how we essentially, see that these PhD scholars, or we facilitate them to come out with a business problem, and then through the PhD work or through their research work, they come out, they are expected to deliver a futuristic solution, futuristic and a sustainable solution. I think this is one of that solution that has come out through a long and a dedicated research done by Dr. Ashwani Khanna, and then supported by the team of faculty members. Congratulations to the team. And I warmly welcome the speakers of the day, Mr. Parvez Damania, Mr. Vivek Anand, Mr. Sunil Bhaskaran, Mr. GP Gupta, Mr. TS Dupare. Thank you very much for taking time off, and I'm sure when I send this out to my associates and to my corporate friends, in fact, they were saying this is a great gathering of the relevant industry who will be able to talk and give a very excellent perspective on the customer value and how future has to be and what has to be done in the aerospace industry, which is one of the badly hit industry, as we all know. All the best to the team, and I definitely know that this is going to be an excellent value addition to the participants. I am looking forward to this also. Thank you once again, and very warm welcome to each one of you. Thank you, Sheetal.
Thank you, ma'am. Would request Dr. Tarun to speak a few words about the optimization tool ma'am just talked about.
Thank you, Dr. Sheetal. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir, loud and clear.
Thank you. Mr. Akhil, could you play that small clip, maybe around 1 minute, if it is okay? Mr. Akhil, can you hear me?
Sure, sir. Sure. I'm just doing, sir. Okay.
Yeah, please do that. Please bear with us all. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your attention. I would like to first welcome all of our experts, because I believe these experts, and if I include Dr. Ashwani Khanna, they would be roughly having 200 years of aviation experience. So that is something which actually is creating value for webinar. I also welcome our own Dean, Professor Geeta, for her welcoming address, and I'm especially thankful to all those people who have actually registered. Thanks for taking your time out. I won't be talking a lot about this product. I will be just giving you some brief. We all do internship, and we all know B School do carry out internship, but our School of Business, or rather UPS, we also do faculty internship, which is actually a rare thing. So we go to some industry or some company and live there at least for 1 fortnight, all on university cost, to understand how things are happening in business. So in the same thing, we had a visit to GMR, and where one of our colleagues had seen the long queues about everything. And it was also discovered that this whole queue and all of the resource allocation is actually being done with the help of some heuristics, some rule of thumb, some norm, or something which they have been doing since last 1 decade kind of thing. So they didn't even think, does it require some change or not? So we actually started taking up that as a project, and we worked on it. Then we found out that actually resources are being allocated in some sort of an unscientific way. And the problem due to that was that the resource was not being optimally allocated. The capacity looked to be constrained or being utilized fully. Although if we do a scientific allocation, we could actually release 20 or 25% of the capacity of the same. So let me just take one simple example. Let me have the liberty. For example, if we take an airport, then we have a counterpart, and counters are generally allocated with some rule of thumb kind of thing. And we all know the customer generally, or passengers, start coming to counter maybe 4 hours or 5 hour maximum. So we call it T-5 and T-4, so on. And what we have seen that the number of counters being allocated is always the same, whether the customers 4 hours before the flight or 1 hour before the flight. So this is something which gave us a thought. And the thing which we came to our mind was that why don't we need a queue management system? So this particular software which we defined, which we made actually, it is a queue management system. So if I continue with the example of counter allocation, it could scientifically allocate the queues depending of number of passengers, depending on the number of airlines, depending of number of counters in a scientific way with the logic, so it's unquestionable. And if we run this on a airport, we found that generally 20 to 25% release in number of counter itself goes down. It means it's a tremendous opportunity cost which was being lost by airport. Then we also saw that this particular queue management system is not only helpful to airport, but it is also equally helpful to airlines. So we can use this in terms of, for example, the at present COVID era, where we all know that these all extraordinary great minds are right now working to make a very smooth passenger experience in this trying time right now. So this can be used in queue management tool in what you call it, maintaining physical distance, social distance, making what you call it queue for waiting part, all those things. The biggest thing in this is, this has all been delivered by us with the collaboration of Aerotech support services with our own Dr. Ashwani Khanna. So this is Make in India product, equally useful for all. And that's all about AeroOpt. We believe that research should actually benefit the society. And this is the one small initiative taken by us with the collaboration of industry to support the society. So that's all from my side. Over to you, Dr. Sheetal.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tarun. And now we are beginning our speaker talks. And the first speaker to come forward, and I'm very delighted to introduce Mr. Sunil Bhaskaran, the CEO and MD with more than 30 years of experience at various strategic positions. Was a Vice President, Corporate Services, Tata Steel, Executive in Charge, Global Wire Business, Principal Executive Officer, Vice President and Corporate Quality Head, Tata International. An engineer from IIT Delhi, and he also has prestigious INSEAD and IIM Calcutta as his alma mater. He is also Chairman of Tata Network Forum and Executive Council, All India Management Association. Mr. Sunil, you're most welcome, and we look forward to your deliberations. Over to you, sir.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was on mute. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I was on mute. I didn't realize. And thank you for having me on this seminar. Delighted to address the students at UPES. I must compliment Dr. Hegde. I didn't know that there's a institute which has actually been recognized by the Great Place to Work. It really shows your focus on working on these people-related things. And as far as the students who are getting into aviation, either in the graduation or post-graduation, let me tell them that in case you think that you made a wrong choice because of what you are hearing and seeing now, with the entire manner in which the aviation industry has been hit by COVID-19, let me tell you, I don't think you've made a wrong choice. It's just that I think the entire industry is going through something very difficult, and it's more like a pause. I'll just take a few seconds to introduce Aerospace in India. Aerospace.
Sir, we lost your voice. Mr. Sunil, we've lost your voice. I think there is some technical, I think Mr. Sunil is joining back. So we have many participants joining now, and I would just like to tell them that we are now listening to Mr. Sunil Bhaskaran, CEO and MD of AirAsia, and we have in the panel Mr. Vivek Chourey, Mr. Parvez Damania, aviation expert. Mr. Vivek Chourey is, of course, Executive Director, Airport Authority of India. We have Mr. T.S. Dupare, CEO, Indian Oil Skytanking, Mr. G.P. Gupta, Chief Strategy Officer, SpiceJet, and obviously Mr. Dr. Ashwani Khanna, who is the Executive Director of Aerotech Support Services. So, Mr. Sunil, are you able to get? Okay. So can we move on to the next speaker? I think it is going to take some time, so I'll take the liberty of introducing the next speaker. In the meanwhile, Mr. Sunil will have this problem resolved. So, I'm now inviting Mr. Vivek Anand Chourey, the Executive Director Operations of Airports Authority of India, New Delhi, a senior airport professional with more than 30 years of experience. He started his career as management trainee with Airports Authority of India in 1988 and has served at various airports within the country. He was Directorate of Aviation Safety and Directorate of Corporate Affairs and Directorate of Operations. He is certified as International Aviation Professional and holding master's degree in physics and PG diploma in personnel management and industrial relationships. Sir, we are very delighted to have you here, and I request you to please go ahead with your deliberations. Over to Mr. Vivek Anand Chourey.
Thank you, Dr. Sheetal, and I congratulate the team of UPS for this webinar, and I am especially thankful to Dr. Ashwani for inviting me for this webinar. I'll put in a perspective the current things what we have done during this COVID-19 crisis when it started, and I'll brief you about my organization. So just let me first share you my screen.
Yes, sir.
I think we need to remove this other screen first. It's coming that you cannot share the screen while other participant is sharing.
Oh, no, I'm back, but
okay. Okay.
Would you like me to continue, or Mr. Chourey, I can go after you?
No, you please continue, sir. I'll come later on. No issues.
I'm sorry. I think I got disconnected.
We all are just learning to live with technology.
Yeah. So, and it happens at all the wrong times.
It's okay, sir. Please continue.
Okay. Just, Mr. Chourey, are you sharing your screen? I'm not able to share my screen.
Sharing my screen, sir. I was trying, but I couldn't.
Okay. So, when I can't get on.
Just give me a minute. We'll have this problem resolved.
No, it started. It started. So I think it's. Are you able to see my screen?
Sir, it takes a minute.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Not yet.
I can see.
Yes, we can see.
Okay. So, so I was just talking on, the first point, which is collaboration. The Indian policymakers have done a great job of getting all the stakeholders between airports, airlines, ground operators, the Ministry of Civil Aviation, the regulator, which is DGCA, and also domain experts from the Ministry of Health, to look at this new normal, which has been already been defined. And for anybody who actually travels now to an airport and has an entire flight experience, would probably be able to see this. So this has been, and I'm making this point because I know for a fact that I don't think many countries in the world have reached this stage, including most of the developed ones have reached the stage of, this collaboration, because this protocol has to be defined across the stakeholders. It cannot be that I say as an airline that we have the finest, health and safety protocol and passenger can fly with us, or the airport saying that we have the, put in everything in place. It has to be the complete end-to-end experience from the time the passenger comes to the airport to the passenger actually leaves of the, arrival airport. And I think the biggest single factor that we are seeing as far as COVID-19 is concerned is, I guess, similar to 9/11, which was more geographically, the impact was in a closer range. Now it's across the world, COVID-19, is to actually build the customer's confidence of getting back to flying. And while the customer will get his confidence once there's either a cure or a vaccine, as far as COVID-19 is concerned, but it looks to be a few months, a few quarters away, and it's important that a customer, as the entire ecosystem in aviation, they're able to build this confidence for the customer. So my first point is, I think it's a great job done by the policymakers of getting everybody to collaborate. Naturally, airports and airlines, some of them have conflicting situations with each other, but I think they have worked together to really develop a fantastic new normal, which will ensure that not just for today, but for future, it addresses anything to do with our next COVID-19, whatever that be. The second point I would like to make is how digital and technology has been used in India to drive change, which is really to drive this at scale. In India, we are talking about pre-COVID-19. We had about 140 million passengers, 50 million passengers flying international, and this growth has happened, in high double digits, between 17-18% growth continuously year after year for 10 years, and then suddenly, of course, we have seen a pause, and there has been zero, flights since the 25th of March. The way the digital solutions have been, I'll just take a few examples. For example, web check-in. I think online web check-in is something that all airlines have been trying to drive because it really drives the efficiency of the system. And with all the drive that we had, I think we had reached levels of 20 to 30%. From the day we have Rio plus, and I think this could very well be a global benchmark. There are other elements which have come in. Some of you may be aware of the Digi Yatra, which is a face recognition system which would make.
Yes,
so the use of
I have notified sir, and he's just checking.
Mr. Bhaskaran, are you able to speak? If you think the presentation is taking some effect, probably you may like to speak out.
Can we move to the other presentation?
Ma'am, can I make a small request here, please?
Sure, sir.
Maybe if there is a bandwidth issue on the presentation being played, can we invite the speakers who probably may not have a presentation and we can continue and maybe at the back end resolve the problem, and then everybody would benefit from the presentations later?
Yes, yes, we'll do that.
Thank
So if you agree, then I think we can start with Mr. Chourey's presentation. But now I think there's some issue with Mr. Bhaskaran's bandwidth. Mr. Ashwani?
Ma'am, I think Mr. Chourey too has a presentation because the screen is frozen and only the audio.
Ashwani, I think I'm back, but I don't know how much you lost.
No, sir, I think we are always happy to hear what you have to share with us, and we are always happy. Please continue, sir. Please.
Thank you. So I'll just I know I've taken almost 8-9 minutes already. So the point I was making is, I think the agility of taking decisions is something which is going to differentiate between people, and we'll have to have organizations. We've always talked about this. You kept mentioning the VUCA world, which everybody likes to talk as a business student. It's a reality even much more now in the airline industry, and this agility is very important. Since I have this opportunity, I want to talk about one thing, since we're talking about customers' confidence as far as flying is concerned. Unfortunately, people have this doubt in their mind as to how safe is it to fly inside the aircraft, because after all, you're cooped in for 2 hours, 1 hour to 2 hours, and you're sitting next to probably 3 passengers next to each other. So how does it, impact, and how safe is it, because you're in a closed atmosphere? So while this is something that many people understand, for everybody here, I would like to share this. Three specific points as far as the inside airline cabin, and these are specific to the jet planes that we have, which is the A320 that we fly and the Boeing 737. I'm not so sure about the turboprops, but for sure for the jet planes. So 3 points I would like to make. First is that all the planes have this highly efficient, what is called as high efficiency particle aggregators, arresters, HEPA filters, which are actually the filters which are used in the surgical rooms of operation theaters in the hospitals. And for the virus in this case, which is between 0.06 to 0.14 micron, 99.99% of that is filtered out by this high efficiency particulate arresters that the airlines have. So that's the first bullet point, that I think 99.99% of this particular virus, it's a larger virus compared to the earlier SARS, it can be sucked out by the HEPA filters. The second is the air inside an airline aircraft is changed 20 times in an hour. Once every 3 minutes, it's a fully new set of air which is in the aircraft cabin. And this largely at the kind of cruise level we are at, means that it's the freshest air which comes in, and every 3 minutes it goes out. And the third point is, and again, this is something which you would have felt. The draft of the air, it comes from when you're sitting on the seat, on those windows that you have just above you, on the vents that you have just above you, and also above the airline, the baggage cabin. And the flow it gets sucked from here direct into the onto the bottom of the plane, and it goes back into the circulation. So this airflow is directly from top to bottom and doesn't come front to back or side to side because of the pressure under which it moves. So 3 bullet points. One is HEPA filters like hospital surgical rooms. Second is air change every 3 minutes. And third is the flow of the air is such that even if there was a particle, infection particle, it cannot be traveled, from front to back or side to side. So these 3 things can really assure that spread of this virus inside the aircraft cabin will never happen. But what's very important is, it's likely that if you have a passenger next to you who's actually a positive case, and he would have droplets, I think personal hygiene is the most important thing, to ensure that you wear your mask which protects your nose and mouth. Today, all Indian Airlines aircraft carriers, we give you a face shield when you travel. And this is out of experience, because the face shield protects the eyes, and there are studies which show that the eyes are susceptible for this transmission. So if you wear your mask well, if you wear your face shield, and if you do your proper hygiene practices of washing your hand and ensuring that you don't touch things here and there, we give you a sachet cliche when you're flying. We give you some, the swabs to clean up. But if you just keep to your own hand and clean, then I don't think aircraft or the flight can in any way transmit this, even if there is a positive. So this is the kind of confidence that is possible, but it's very important for the person to build this. Just another point I want to make is in the last week that it has started, we have had a few cases of positive tests after landing. And many people assume that this has been picked up in the aircraft. But the reality is, by far, aviation is the safest travel mode in the country today, compared for any long distance travel compared to road or rail. It's just that the testing is so much higher, and therefore the likelihood of catching it is much easier. And this testing happens only after the flight is over. And which is why all of you are aware that in India, 80% of the cases are asymptomatic, which means you could go through the thermal screening even if you are carrying the virus. So I would like to just assure that as far as air flying is concerned, I think it's an extremely safe mode of travel. I think between the airports and the airlines and other stakeholders, there's a very clear, safe, new normal which is already in place. And we are just hoping that this confidence gets built up and air travel, at least domestically in India, picked up as soon as possible. That's all that I have, Dr. and Ashwani, and I'll end with this. Thank you. I know I've taken a little longer time.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. It was reassuring to listen to your talk. We had a technical glitch, but then you were able to make it, and that's how life is. So you gave us a very good news that the flying is safe, and even if you are at 35,000 feet above in a compressed, pressurized, machine, you are still safe. And thanks to people like you and your teams who are working around and making travel safe for us. Thank you so much, and it must be reassuring to the growing number of the participants here to listen to. And I must tell the participants that if you have a question from Mr. Sunil Bhaskaran, you can put it in question and answer, and we can take these questions. So, sir, if you allow me, I'll just read out one question to you. If you allow, sir. Mr. Sunil, can we take a question?
Please do.
So, this is a question which states that, question is from Devjyoti Goswami. How do you see the digital transformation shape up the aviation industry post-COVID?
So, which is the point I made? One was on collaboration, the second was on digital and technology. I think, the great things about sometimes, events like this is a lot of things which are innovative ideas which are in the pipeline get implemented very quickly. And I think the use of digital and technology, I dread to think what would have happened to the world if this had hit the world 12 years ago or 15 years ago, when we were not so, the digital infrastructure was not so well developed to do it. So I think the entire push towards contactless travel to make it, the airline by itself inside is safe, but how do you ensure that the entire travel process is safe is something, and I think digital is the, base on which all these, the addressing these kind of things at scale is only possible because of digital. So in every which way, right from the check-in to the face recognition at the gates, to self-package drop, to the security protocol, to the boarding gates, all elements of this are going to, benefit a lot because of digital. So yeah, the answer is it's very, very important.
Thank you so much, sir. And I must thank you for also reassuring my students that it's just a bad day, not a bad choice of career. Thank you so much. So
Absolutely.
now, thank you, sir. Now coming to Mr. Vivek Anand Chourey, the Executive Director, Operations, Airport Authority of India, New Delhi. Sir, I have introduced you to the participants. I would request that you please come up with your deliberations, and we look forward to listen to you, sir, eagerly. Thank you so much.
Thank you once again, Dr. Sheetal. And now let me put up my screen.
While Mr. Chourey is putting his presentation, I would like to assure the audience that after the speakers have taken their turns to speak and express their views, we would have some questions for them, and there would be more enriching exchange of information between all of us. So please be patient and
So now let me first introduce you to my organization, Airports Authority of India. It's a statutory body under the Ministry of Civil Aviation, and we are responsible for creating and managing the civil aviation infrastructure in India. We own and manage 137 airports and civil enclaves in India, which includes 3 of the JV airports also, namely Delhi, Mumbai, and Nagpur. We also provide the air navigation services all across the India and the adjoining oceanic area that comes around 2 million square nautical miles. Before the COVID-19, in India at around 105 airports, scheduled flight operation, including the RCS flight operation, was taking place. And out of this, at 87 AI managed airports and civil enclaves, the scheduled flight operation was taking place. This is just a graphical position of the navigation, the area of air navigation services we provide over the area of 2.8 square million nautical miles. Now let me take you through the journey of how this journey of COVID-19 started in India. In January 18th, this thermal screening of the passengers started who are coming from China started at Delhi, Kolkata, and Mumbai airport. Subsequently, from 1st of February 2020, at all 21 international airports, the passengers coming from China, Hong Kong, Singapore, Thailand, for them the thermal screening started. Apart from the thermal screening, various measures were taken by the airports for the providing the safe passage for the passengers, like information signages were provided, and announcements were made in the flights to make the passengers aware of what actions they are supposed to take and how they will be processed at the airport. Self-reporting forms were also provided to the passengers at the airports. And most important was the staff who was, another important factor was the staff who was performing the duties at the airports, not only from the airlines, the ground handling agency, the security services, the other concessionaires, everybody was made up of what they are supposed to take. They were advised to take protective gears to wear. And on 4th of March 2020, all the international passengers who were from abroad were universally screened. Then from the real action started, in the sense the action stopped, rather, I'll say that way. It is on 22nd March, the international flight operation was stopped, and from 24th March, the domestic flight operation is stopped. These are some of the screenshots of the how the processes were taken care of during this period. But when the flight operation stopped, the airports are totally closed. During this flight time period, right from the 25th of March, special lifeline Udan flights who were carrying the medical equipment, other things which are required across the India. And I'm happy to inform you that during this time period, around 579 flights operated, and 926 tons of cargo was transported during this time period. Next, the Vande Bharat mission. A lot of Indian passengers were stranded outside, and there are a lot many who are stranded in India also. So, Government of India planned for Vande Bharat mission from 7th of May. During this time period, around 64 flights operated in phase 1, and around 18,000 passengers, out of which 13,000 plus were from abroad to India, and around 5,000 plus were from India to abroad. They evacuated and repatriated. In phase 2, Vande Bharat mission, which started from 17th of May 2020, around what was planned for 130 flights from 40 countries, and around 30,000 passengers must be evacuated from abroad. However, in this phase also, the passengers who were stranded in India, they were also repatriated back. So as of 27,000 passengers have been repatriated back. Now, the Government of India from 25th of March, as Sunil sir has said, that we started domestic flight operation. a comprehensive SOP was made by Ministry of Civil Aviation in consultation with all the stakeholders. The airlines were consulted, the airport operators were consulted, and the main thrust was the on two things. One is the this contactless process, and the which could lead to a safe and sound processing of the passengers to the through the terminal building up to the aircraft. Need of the hours was to how we will go through this process, how we will make the passengers feel safe, they are safe, how the staff who's working at the airport, they should also be, they are also a important factor in the airport operation.
I think there's a problem with his internet connection. Mr. Vivek, are you able to listen? We have lost his, but we can listen to you, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah, 1 second. Yeah. So these are some of the salient features of the SOP, which was main thrust was keeping the separations at all the locations, to provide the sanitizer and at various vantage points, keeping the areas of the terminal building sanitized, creating a barrier by putting up a transparent sheet or the thing at counters or at the entry gate where the security staff is checking your documents and everything. It's not moving forward. 1 second. Yeah, just let me see. This screen is not moving forward.
Chourey, request would be that you can continue to speak, and once the screen follows, you can probably go back to those particular slides.
1 second. 1 second. So,
Ashwani, why don't you drop the presentation part? Because I think the presentation is consuming, causing the delay.
Yeah, maybe if
I think it's
this time, then probably we'll request him to, take it verbally.
it's not getting through. I think there's some problem, technical issues. Anyways, so after this, there's a lot of data involved in this, which I was wanting to share with all of you. And without this thing, it will not. Without this thing, it will not be possible for me to continue. So let me put it on another computer, and then I'll come back to you. So after this, let me share this next one. Now, as per the ICAO, during this, what ICAO has informed us that around this will be 45 to 80% decline in the world international passenger in 20, and this has changed. This pandemic has changed the mindset of the passengers also. A lot of passengers are afraid of traveling also, and as per the IATA survey, around 40% of the passengers would like to wait for another 6 months to travel. So this is a one very important factor, that to go back to normal, it will take some time for all of us. And we in the aviation industry, all the stakeholders will need to take care of taking all the measures, which is like Sunil sir has said earlier, the digitization of the process. As already we were already in the process of digitizing the passenger process through the airport through Digi Yatra, which process we need to be take it forward in a best possible way at the earliest, so that the contactless processing at the airports takes place. Now, I am happy to inform you that once this flight started from 25th, the number of passengers are increasing every day. On 25th of May 2020, around 830 movements took place, arrival plus departure, from 56 airports. And on 29th of May, around 1,000 plus movements took place from 62 airports. So we are increasing in the number by the number of flights as well as the airports which are going to from where the flights are going to operate. So it's a good news for all of us that the passengers are increasing, and at the same time the passengers are also increasing. So we hope that in the next few days the number of passengers and the more and more airports and the airlines will also start connecting more and more airports. I think I'll complete my presentation over here, because the data which I wanted and the graphics which I wanted to show is I cannot show because of this technical issue. So thank you so much. That's all from my side.
Thank you so much, sir. So if you would allow, we'll take one question.
Yeah, sure.
Dr. Ashwani, if you would like to pitch in here, there are some questions popping in.
Yes, ma'am. There are lots of questions, and I think we should take them separately. But just as a thought process, Vivek ji, we would like to have your thoughts. You are far and wide spread all over the country in the smallest town, and I'm sure Airports Authority of India is going through a lot of challenge to get the COVID-19 kind of awareness in the staff to the last mile. And if you can just maybe add to some of those thoughts which come in your mind that you are taking to make sure that the last airport like Dibrugarh, Lilabadi, are also as aware as much as any metro city, and what challenges you face in that. I think this would help.
You are right, Mr. Ashwani, that Airports Authority of India has a large number of airports, and it's quite challenging in the sense that the airports are every nook and corner of the India, in the remotest area, and to put up all the things which are required for safe transportation of the passenger through these airports, we had a Herculean task. We had regular meetings through VC during this time period. Our regional executive directors, we contacted them through VC, and we had taken their suggestion, and everybody pitched in over there. And even I'm happy to inform you that even at the smallest of the airports, I wanted to share some of the reactions of few of the passengers in my presentation, which I couldn't do it. And even at the smallest airports like Bagdogra, Dibrugarh, the passengers are quite satisfied about the preparations we have made for the safe processing of the passengers through our airports. So I can proudly say that all my colleagues of more than 80 plus airports have done their best, and they have provided all the measures, they have taken all the measures for the safe and sound processing of the passengers to the terminal buildings. And not only for the passengers, but also for the stakeholders who are working at the airport.
Thank you, Vivek ji. This is really heartening to know that Airports Authority of India at the back end is putting in. So happy to share this in writing with our viewers and the efforts that you take. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chourey, and thank you, Dr. Ashwani. Moving on to our next speaker, Mr. Parvez Damania. He started one of the first private airlines in India, Damania Airways Limited. He has been the director of Air Sahara and executive director of Kingfisher Airlines, chairman of the Confederation of Indian Industries Committee in Civil Aviation, an industrialist with experience in food industry, and a nominated trustee by the Government of India to the Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust. He also runs Community Center in Dharavi and is founder of NGO, the Banyan Tree Center in Dharavi, where 600 children from Dharavi slums are given opportunity to study. As an aviation expert, we are so proud and privileged to have you here, sir. You're most welcome to the seminar, and over to you for deliberations. So you have to unmute your mic.
First and foremost, thank you very much for inviting me. You're very kind to invite me, Dr. Sheetal, Dr. Zingra. I really appreciate being here. And I think we are going through an extremely critical time for the aviation industry. I do not have a structured presentation, but I can give you an overview of what I think what is happening in the aviation industry right now. First and foremost, I must congratulate Mr. Bhaskaran and Mr. Gupta. We're going, the aviation industry and all the airlines are going through very, very tough times. I have been there, but this is a complete, unique and unbelievable time. What you people are going through, I have a very, very clear idea. One of the common questions people ask me, which airline do you think are going to survive? And I don't know what to say. I hope no airline collapses. I must congratulate every airline in India for doing an exceptional job. They've delivered an exceptional product, may it be Indigo, may it be Spice, may it be Go, may it be AirAsia. They've delivered unbelievable product at an unbelievable affordable price to the consumer. Even at running into tremendous losses, they've done an unbelievable job. And right now, they're going through very tough times. People are just seeing the numbers from outside, but I have a pretty good idea what kind of losses they're suffering and how much time it's going to get through to come back to better times. And I think aviation industry in the last few years have tremendously contributed to the infrastructure growth of India. They've delivered phenomenal growth. Last 4 years in a row, India has been the fastest growing domestic market in the world at about 18.6%, while China was at 11.5%. And today we are almost at zero. Since March 25th, everything is collapsed, everything is shut. And I'm sorry to say, I don't think the government has really come forward to support the industry at a stage like this. And I think we only need to look at airlines. We need to look like the entire aviation industry. Aviation industry is just not the airlines that are suffering. The entire aviation industry is going through a very tough time. Let it be airports, let it be ground service agencies, let us be catering companies, and also the travel agencies. Everybody is going through a very tough time. And I do not know how much time it will take time to get back to normal. Another thing, I must congratulate the government and Ministry of Civil Aviation. At least take this initiative, start aviation on 25th May. I think it was a great move by the Civil Aviation Ministry. I know it was a very, very difficult move, and I think I must congratulate the airlines for starting and being ready on time. Congratulate the airports, the private and the government airports, to be ready on time and to deliver. Yes, there was a tremendous amount of miscommunication or lack of communication between the states and the center. And there were a lot of issues, and I knew there would be initial issues while starting out, but I think slowly those issues are being sorted out. Slowly things are getting normal, and I'm sure the loads, I think the loads are already quite good, but I'm sure you people are in the industry, you can understand that right now airlines are flying at 30% sectors. That means 30% of the aircrafts are flying. I cannot imagine what must be happening when 30 out of 100, if you have only 30 aircrafts flying. I mean, for the 100 aircrafts to bear the load of only 30 aircrafts flying is a very, very difficult job. But I'm very happy and proud that every airline, I heard the Minister of Civil Aviation say, every airline said, yes, we want to start flying. Nobody said that 30% we cannot fly. So again, I think they've come up with a very brave front. And, you know, another thing I get regularly asked is it safe? I think every airline and the government must create a campaign, start a campaign to educate the public that even today, in spite of all this, the safest mode of transport is the aircraft. You're much safer in an aircraft than you're in a bus, train. See, the only thing safe is you remain quarantined in the house. But if you get out it becomes such a big issue that 4 people, 5 people were found. If aviation industry is going to start and people are going to travel, there are cases going to come up. If somebody says not a single case will never come up, it's not going to happen. But we've got to accept this as the normal. I'll tell you something, in spite of everything, let us look at the numbers. We are 1.3 billion and we have a death of 4,981 as of today. That is nothing. Let us now concentrate on living with COVID as the new normal. Let us accept that we have nothing to fear but fear itself. This is going to be a part of life. We cannot wish this away, but we cannot stop living. And I think part of living, you see, I was all the time communicating with the government in Maharashtra on the issue of quarantine. Initially, government said you can start, but there will be a 14-day quarantine. I said, initially, there will be people who will have families here or children want to come back or something like that. But if you want the business travel to start, how can you have a process of 14-day quarantine? If I am coming from Delhi to Mumbai for a 2-day meeting or 1-day meeting and you're going to put a 14-day quarantine system, why am I going to come? I said, if you want the state to get back to normal, things to get back to normal, you have to stop this 14-day quarantine nonsense. So now I'm sure you all are aware that if you come with a return ticket to Maharashtra or to Mumbai or Pune, you have a ticket and you have reasons to go back, you will not have the 14-day quarantine or quarantine. I think that is a very positive step towards the whole thing. And I think I'm very happy that things are changing and things are getting back to normal. Another thing, again, I said, and of course I will elaborate later, I hope the government comes up with some kind of concrete plan to support this industry, because about 30 lakh jobs are at stake, 30 lakh aviation related jobs. And another thing, it's not just, again, I said, it's just not the airlines, the entire aviation industry, the ground service company, the catering company, the airports. Plus, I don't know in other states, but in Maharashtra, we have a tremendous problem of labor policies, where the policies say you have to keep paying, you can't reduce the people. So these are also policies that the government has to look at. If the government wants this industry to survive and to grow, the government has, you're all aware, that India used to contribute about $7.74 billion to the Indian economy, to the Indian GDP. That is a lot of money. So I don't know how this is going to work. And I hope the government looks at the aviation industry as a whole and comes up in support of it here. So these are the few points I have in mind. Later, if there are any question answers, I'd be glad to help out or answer. But I'm just happy that the aviation industry started again. And I hope, as the minister announced, by 14th August or 15th August, we start the international travel also. Because I think it's very imperative. If we are going to become again a world economy, a powerful economy in the world, we cannot shut our doors. We have to start the international flights. And I think things should start soon. I'm happy that we've started and look forward to the industry growing again fast. Yep.
Thank you so much for this wonderful deliberation, a wonderful talk. Not only that you talked about what positive we are doing, but this is specifically a very positive note in your deliberation of congratulating the airlines and the industry, and then urging them to begin the new normal as soon as possible. And then you also talked about the aviation value chain, and you really touched upon the jobs and the ripple effect that not having the early release from the situation is going to have. So this is a wonderful talk, and there are questions coming up. So if you allow, sir, there will be.
Please.
So there are questions mentioned to speakers, which we are going to forward to the speaker. A lot of questions to Mr. Sunil Bhaskaran, I can see here. Okay, this question is from Dr. Prasum Dwivedi from School of Business, and he has asked, do you think that now onwards, customer focus will increase than before? Mr. Parvez?
Yeah. See, I'll tell you something.
Yeah.
No, the customer, you see, I'll tell you something. A different kind of customer service is going to start. Previously, we used to say the air hostess to smile. I'm waiting when the image of the hostess comes back to air hostess, But yes, now we will have to be very, very careful from the customer's health, hygiene, and safety point of view. So yes, there's those areas we'll have to concentrate more. But I'm sad that we will miss the personalized customer service of the air hostess, the ground staff, which India was so proud of and which India was doing an exceptional job. Yes, but different kind of customer service standards will have to come in. Yes. And they may be more expensive. It will be more taxing to the airline. Like the airline people said, now we've got to provide a mask, an air shield. These are all things that will build up into cost. But you are aware in the new new minister announced, when he announced the fare structure, see, that is one thing that very, very seriously worries me. It is a cost to worry and it's a cost to the airlines also. That right now the civil aviation minister said that there will be a regulated fare policy. There is a lower point, there's a higher point, and you cannot charge above, below that. And 40% of the seats have to be below the 50% value of the ticket. So I think this is a free market economy. And okay, let's so go by 3 months. But after that, I hope there is no cap or there's no control of the fare structure. So the airlines may be free to grow and progress.
Thank you, Mr. Parvez. Thank you for your deliberations. It was lovely to hear you. And we move ahead, and now we have Mr. S. Dupare, Chief Executive Officer, Indian Oil Skytanking Private Limited, which currently provides aviation fueling services at 20 airports in India. He's leading in the company since 2010 and is responsible for the growth of company from one location in Bangalore and 20 pan-India. He has been a general manager aviation with Indian Oil Aviation Wing, an electrical engineer from VNIT, also MBA in marketing management. He has had a long career spanning 36 years in aviation fuel industry. He has been associated with complete value chain in aviation fuel handling. So over to you, sir, and look forward to your deliberations. Mr. S. Dupare.
Yeah. Thank you, Sheetal. I would also like to thank Dr. Ashwani Khanna for inviting me for this webinar. Generally, the fueling happens in the background, and not many people know what hard work goes in the background. So I have a small presentation about this topic, and it is really a short presentation, and I will quickly, many slides I will try to skip because they have already been covered by the previous speakers. Okay, now a brief about Indian Oil Skytanking. Indian Oil Skytanking was established in 2006 and is promoted by two giant companies, Indian Oil Corporation, which needs no introduction in India, and Skytanking Holding, which is a German-based company. We commenced our operations in 2008 at Bangalore International Airport as an into-plane service provider and fuel farm owner and operator. It's a boot contract. We proudly say that we were the first company which implemented open access and single-man refueling in India. So as I said, Indian Oil needs no introduction. Currently, they are on 137th ranked on Fortune 500 list, and Skytanking operates 83 locations in 14 countries. So we basically do into-plane. We are independent service providers, fueling company. So we are into into-plane fueling, O&M of operations and maintenance of fuel farms and hydrant system. We do investments, engineering, advisory, and projects. We are at, as said earlier, we are at 20 locations across India, 580 plus employees. We also own a large fleet of dispensers and refuelers, which are used for fueling of the aircraft. So pre-COVID, we were doing almost 1,200 fuelings per day, and which is basically highest for any company in India. We were handling 10,000 kiloliters of fuel, jet fuel, every day. We have a 70% market share of into-plane services at major locations like Delhi, Bombay, and Bangalore. And we actually handle 40% of jet fuel volumes across India. So our operating philosophy is based on safety first. Safety is embedded in the DNA of IOSL, that is Indian Oil Skytanking. Our focus is on building and maintaining customer trust as they store their product with us. Actually, we are not into the selling of product. We are simply a service provider, and we operate this ATF handling. Petroleum products are hazardous product, and it has to be handled in a safe way. Plus, we are also operate in the vicinity of the aircraft, so we operate in a very, very safe manner. So the four pillars which are there for managing the aviation fuel stations. One is infrastructure. See, we have a really world-class infrastructure at Bangalore. This facility came up in 2008. It was designed by the German engineers, and we are managing it. This facility is one of the best in India as of now, and is compliant with JAN and various international standards. Now, coming to the SOP for every critical activity, we have a SOP which are in line with the international best practices. The SOPs cover operations, maintenance, quality, and other critical areas. We promote a culture of safety in our company. Well, the moment somebody joins our company, he starts with safety. As I mentioned that we deal with the hazardous product, our people work at heights, and we operate in the vicinity of the aircraft. So safety is of paramount importance to us, and we promote that and in our company. Rather, I would say we each individual is practicing a safety in the company. Now, coming to the training, which is the of great importance. When we hire a trainee, eventually we hire only the engineers, either they are diploma holders or degree holders, and they undergo a rigorous training for 3 to 4 months. They do, before they actually go for refueling, I mean, they do a single man refueling. The equipment is, model, and it has got a lot of gadgets which engineers can understand. So before they actually go for refueling on individual basis, they do a mock refuelings around 250 times, and they are also certified as quality control signatories in line as per the DGCA norms. We do various trainings in-house, and now we started this online trainings also. This time, actually, lockdown time was used by us for training our guys. So a lot has been said about this impact of civil aviation in India, so I will skip this slide. I will come to impact of COVID-19 on our company. See, we are a service provider like the airlines, and for a service provider, whatever revenue we lost forever. Unlike, for example, a car manufacturer, he can sell his cars later and make up for the losses for the previous period, but not for the service providers like us, and even for the airlines. So our key locations are Delhi, Bombay, and Bangalore, and there we are hit by almost 90%. Our jet volumes are down by almost 90%. However, the operations were on. Our facilities were up and running during this period, and we were handling cargo and repatriation flights and other special flights, the Air Force flight. So we were actually operating our locations. Now, the international, it is good that the operations have started this 25th, and we are really upbeat about this. It is picking up now every day. For us, the international flight operations, which contributes 40% of IOSL revenue, we await for that. the whole situation has hit us badly in terms of revenue, as we have to keep incurring the fixed cost. Now, if I show you some statistics, pre-lockdown, we were doing close to 1,200 flights per day and handling 10,000 KL per day. So during the lockdown, we were hardly doing 50 to 100 flights per day and handling just 800 KL to 1,000 KL per day pan India. The post-lockdown, it has now picked up. It has become 200 to 250 flights per day, and we do almost 2,000 to 2,300 KL per day. And of course, it is picking up. The volume of flights are growing, and it is picking up. So, how we are managing the fallout from COVID-19? See, basically, we have utilized this time for enhancing our safety measures. I will not go through each and every bullet point. We are having a business continuity plans in place. We have introduced this 12-hour shift pattern at our location. So our guys work for 4 days instead of normal 6 days, with which leads to reduced exposure to them. And this absence from duty, they are available in case of any emergency. Suppose some of our employees get positive with this, then we have to de-roster the entire shift people. So other people who are at home, they can fill in that gap. So as I said, we have a business continuity plans in place for all the operating locations. Now, how we are supporting the aviation industry in these difficult times? We continue to provide uninterrupted and delay-free services to the airline. Of course, the delays are unacceptable even during the normal times, but to help the airlines to regain the customer confidence in these difficult times, we are extra cautious not to cause any delay to the airline. We ensure the availability of fuel at all the times. So for this, we have to coordinate with the oil companies for positioning of their product in our facilities. And this happens on a daily basis with them. The idea is to keep the fuel tap running all the time. It should not happen that the aircraft comes and there is no fuel. It will never happen, I can assure you. So we maintain enhanced safety and hygiene measures to protect our employees and the airline representatives they come in contact with. We believe that if we keep our people safe, then we can keep others safe as well. We are also ensuring the most operating locations continue to function effectively. Also, earlier I have said that during this lockdown times also, we operated our locations. Our boys, they have to face problems in coming to office, but somehow they managed to reach office, and we continue to refuel aircraft even during the peak lockdown times. So these are some of the snapshots, the photographs when we were refueling the aircraft of our esteemed airlines, Air Force. So I will conclude like this. This time too shall pass. I believe that nothing is permanent, not even the bad times. The recovery in the aviation industry may take 1 year to 1.5 years. I don't know. If it happens earlier, I'll be most happy person. So some key positive triggers, which could be that dispelling the fears of the passengers and building their customer confidence. Hopefully, the COVID-19 vaccine comes earlier than the estimated time which they are mentioning now. Easing out quarantine restriction by the countries and the Indian states also. Continuance of low. Currently, the jet fuel prices are quite low. I have not seen these prices for a very long time. We also feel that the government should bring the jet fuel under GST, that will be great relief to the airlines. And some bailout packages for the airlines from the government. It should, I mean, I think this is the need of the hour. So some support from the government should come forward. Now, with this, let us keep going, let us keep moving, and wait for the good times to come back in aviation. So that's all from my side. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Dupare. And this was a very informative discussion. And you touched upon various areas where we have to come together. And you talked also about some kind of relief that can be given to airlines from the government. I would request Dr. Khanna to pick a question and ask Mr. Dupare.
Sure. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Dupare, thank you. I think this was enlightening to know what the behind the scene oil industry is supporting the aviation. And a lot of people are not aware of how the fuel comes. They see the aircraft and their whole focus is on that. Going forward, Dupare Saab, you mentioned about the safety culture that you have, and in these times when your whole volume of business is low, how do you think that you are able to motivate people in the same safety culture and same work practices as they would expect to happen during very busy times? How are you keeping this as an organization? How are you addressing this challenge of motivating people to be very safety conscious in whatever they do when there is less to do?
Thank you, Khanna sir. You asked me a very pertinent question. Well, these are challenging times for everyone, and keeping the employee motivated during this lockdown is a daunting task for each organization. With our employees, I would say we are transparent with regards to the measures which we are taking to sustain in this unprecedented situation. Our management team is continuously in touch with them. We have a panel of doctors who can be contacted by our employees if they have any fears or symptoms like that. We have assured our employees that there will not be any retrenchment. Probably that is the biggest worry for the employees. And we have told them that under this times also we will not retrench anybody or dismiss anybody from the service. We are maintaining a very high levels of hygiene at our workplace. The employees should feel that when they come to office, they should feel that they are safe. I mean, their workplace is safe as their home. And we are circulating the health advisories which we get from Skytanking Germany. Really good stuff we get. We get good advisories, and from Indian Oil also. So we get this advantage of two good promoters, and we keep them. During this time, we had run also some safety campaigns during this lockdown. So this is the way we have taken some of the measures to keep them motivated during this time.
Thank you, Dupare sir. Thank you once again for your time.
Thank you. Yes, and thank you for your deliberation, sir. We now have Mr. G.P. Gupta. He is the Chief Strategy Officer of SpiceJet, and he's an aviation veteran and has played a key role in the turnaround of SpiceJet in 2015. He is fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants and has over 28 years of experience across various functions, including airline operations, finance, human resource, legal, risk management, IT, flight safety, customer services, etc. Previously, he has worked as Chief Financial Officer of Go Air and Financial Controller of the Dots India Limited. So we are very happy to have you here amongst us, and we look forward for your deliberations. Go ahead, sir, please. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Sheetal. First of all, I am delighted to be part of my co-panelists, and most of them are my senior colleagues in the industry and professors from University of Petroleum and Energy Studies. And thank you, Dr. Ashwani Khanna, for inviting me on this. So, a lot has been said already. So, couple of things I'll say because from students' perspective, I will address that first before I go to other things. So probably I don't think that aviation is a wrong choice. So I joined this industry in 2001. And I'll share my experience with you first. I came from a company called Xerox, and Xerox was like, global top 50 company those days. And my passion was for aviation. And as soon as I joined after a couple of months, this September 2001 happened. And the airline industry globally went through a very downside. Honestly speaking, like you must be thinking, some of you, is it a wrong decision? I used to think that way. But I can tell you, last 20 years have taught me, I also learned a lot. It's not a bad industry. This is a good industry to be in. And I can tell you, if you start working in this industry, I don't think you will ever go out. Even if you move out, you would love to come back. Rather than you love to come back, you would struggle to come back. Because the kind of excitement this industry gives you, because every time you see a flight moving, you need to clear a flight, you need to move passengers. And this gives you an opportunity, to deal with the people, to serve the people. And you will meet all kind of people. One thing which we have done successfully at SpiceJet, and I'm sure we all do, we all create our bondings at our workplace, in our social life. Similarly, you can have a very strong emotional connect with the customer. Because at the end of the day, please remember, we deal with the people. So I'm quite passionate about this industry. And I can share with you, I have seen 4 booms and 4 busts in this industry in the last 20 years. But yes, this is a really tough time, probably which is unprecedented one. Because the earlier days, they were event-driven situations which happened. And as soon as the event passes or the security takes over, everything is back to normal. This is something unprecedented, but I can tell you, as Mr. Dupare also said, this time shall also pass. So this will pass soon. And coming back, when the airlines were closed down on 25th of March, I can tell you a lot of people I used to talk to, and a lot of people were in touch with me, and everybody saying, what will happen to aviation? Aviation will never come back. And same, within 2 months, we are back. Yes, loads are low. There are a lot of apprehension. So first, let me address those apprehension, because I will not take much time. See, as Mr. Sunil Bhaskaran said, this is the safest mode of travel available to the people as of today. He touched base on this HEPA filter, high efficiency particulate arrestor filter. So these filter give you air as pure as 99.9%. All the particulates available in the airs are arrested in these filters. And the size of this coronavirus is much larger than that, and it is arrested in the filter itself. So and aircraft has always a continuous airflow, and the direction of the airflow is from top to bottom. And from the bottom, there is always a continuous suction which is happening always. And this is a continuous process. So every 2 to 3 minutes, you have 100% pure air in the cabin. So even if somebody sneezes, though all stakeholder consultation took place, and we are thankful to Ministry of Civil Aviation, Director General of Civil Aviation, and all the stakeholders from airport side, from the airline side, they always had a very constructive dialogue that how do we make it safe. So all the precautions have been taken, but from passengers' perspective, so as long as you wear a mask, there's no need to worry at all. Because even if somebody, let's take, is a COVID positive, the jumps is arrested in the mask. In addition to that, Ministry has also said, let's try this face shield. So at least infection does not even touch your eyes, even if there is something. There's the second level of protection you have. In addition to this, the hands are sanitized, bags are sanitized. So before a person enters into terminal, you have gone through a sanitization process. Now, each aircraft, before the passenger boards, each aircraft is sanitized. Every part where the customer touches, whether this is on top of the seat, whether this is the head track covers, whether this is the doors, whether this is the seat handles, seat pockets, everything is sanitized before passengers come on board. So this is 100% secure environment. So not only in the aircraft, even when you reach the terminal building, so bag and people are sanitized. Then you come to the airline counter. Now the counters are acting as a baggage drop counters, because this is 100% web check-in. And let me share with you, like Mr. Bhaskaran said, initially we thought because web check-in was not that prevalent in India. You will be surprised, the web check-in level is 95 to 99%, depending from the airline, depending on the sector, which everybody thought it will be very difficult. So this is completely touchless travel now. Even when you cross the boarding gate, you get into the coaches of the airline, each coach is sanitized before the passenger board onto that coach. Like when I say coach, means coach, every seat pocket, every hand bars, grab bars which we have, everything is completely sanitized. So this is a completely secured environment. And in my experience of last 35 years, I do not think there's any more secured environment which can take place other than this. Now, some of my panelists talked about that people who are getting COVID positive detected at arrival. So let me clear that apprehension out. They are not infected in the aircraft. They are not infected at the airport. They are the people who are COVID positive, but they are asymptomatic. They do not have any symptom. So what happens at some of the states, they are carrying COVID test as a mandatory test. And out of the COVID test, when the result comes, they are detected positive. So it is not that the airline is allowing, or the airports are allowing, or the ministry is allowing people who are COVID positive to travel. No. Even in rather most all the cases, people themselves are not aware that they are COVID positive because they have no symptom. And they sign a declaration that they will abide by all the terms and conditions, and they are not coming from the red zone. They are not COVID positive. So all those things and all those precautions have been taken in the background. So all the employees in the airline, all the employees at the airport, all the employees of all other stakeholders, whether it's the ground handler, fuel suppliers, even the wheelchair people, they are all sanitized. And anybody, even if they have light test of the symptom, they are not allowed to work either for the airline or for airport operator or for the oil companies or for the ground handlers for that matter. So this is a completely secured environment. So from customer's perspective, there's no need to worry to travel by air. This is the safest mode in my opinion, because I have not seen any case till date. Let me share with you some of the example. You may be seeing in media, in the newspaper, that some airline employees or some passenger getting COVID positive. I can share with you a couple of cases which happened in SpiceJet only. So, and why I'm sharing with you so that you know this testimony. So one of our first officer was detected COVID positive. So as soon as, why I can share with you with confidence, because I am the COVID in charge at SpiceJet. So I know what is happening, what is not happening, what we are doing in the background for each and every activity. So when this first officer was detected, I was slightly worried because whatever I read, because I also not know for 100% sure, I'm sure some research scientist may be knowing how this virus spreads. So I was quite worried whatever I read that is spread from 1 to 5, 5 to 60 and all. So we took all care that, who are the other pilots, captains, cabin crew flew with this person. And we closely monitored. Not a single other person got infected at SpiceJet. And let me tell you now why. Because we then went to why there's then so much media hype that if there's one person will impact 10 people or 50 people, then, we have a background process. As I said earlier, before every embarkation, the aircraft is completely sanitized. So after every flight, even the cockpit of the aircraft is completely sanitized. So even if, let's say, one pilot who was COVID positive, so as soon as that pilot has left the cockpit is completely sanitized with disinfectants. So that means the next person who had taken over the cockpit is not impacted. So this, and so, I mean, I cannot have better testimony than this. And in addition to this, airport operators have taken other measures. So one is that we have made sure that droplets do not happen through this face mask, face shield have been shared. Even the airports have a process in a place that you even cannot carry this contamination through your shoes, because your shoes, you go through the airport mat. The mat has got I think this chemical called hypochlorite mixed with the water, and your shoes are disinfected. So from COVID perspective, this is the safest mode. I do not think we can expect any better mode than this. So this is from COVID's perspective. And as I said, the choice of joining aviation is not a bad choice. See, in any industry, times do come, times go. In my last 30 years, I've seen a lot of industry going up and down, whether it's cement, whether it's petroleum, whether it's FMCG. So all these times come. But again, as I said, tough times do not last, but tough people do. So we have to be solid people behind that. How do we take our organization through this? I will share with you one more example. It's not that I'm just sharing this just for the boosting the confidence of the people and the students here. SpiceJet currently is the second largest carrier. Our load factors have been highest in the industry for last 5 years in a row. And our load factors have been as high as 92% plus. SpiceJet on-time performance has been one of the best in the industry. We were the first national carrier which plunged into this government's regional connectivity scheme. And we are the largest player even today to play in the regional connectivity scheme. As Mr. Dupare said, this Lifeline Udan, the freighter aircraft, SpiceJet has got 5 dedicated freighter aircraft. And we were the largest, Lifeline Udan scheme of the government. And we carried a lot of medical equipment, a lot of medicines. Even you will be surprised at some of the states, we run a flight to deliver, the like equipment, as small as like 2 kg packet, but that was essential for that state that time, or that was essential for certain of some of the patients. So we did that as well. So, because as a company, as a nation, as a region, sometimes these things too happen. Like, the flood in Srinagar. I don't think anybody expected a flood in Srinagar, the way the Srinagar is located, but it did happen. But all the stakeholders played together, and the situation was controlled very fast. So I'm sure aviation will also come back. Now, coming back to SpiceJet. So SpiceJet in 14, and if some of you may have studied, but if not, I'll share with you, had a financial distress and gone through a very bad experience. Our fleet was reduced from 58 aircraft to 17 aircraft at one point of time. And the company was on the verge of closure. And I can precisely tell you, because I will never forget that date, 14th December 2014. So a lot of all media, all televisions, everybody saying SpiceJet. I am sorry to use some other airline's name, SpiceJet going Kingfisher way, because Mr. Parvez Damania was at the helm of affairs at Kingfisher. So everything happened that way. And let me tell you one beauty of SpiceJet. So the people, despite knowing that tomorrow the flights may not go, you will be beaten by the customer. But I can tell you with pride, every employee at SpiceJet reported to work. Whether it was pilot, engineer, airport staff, security staff, everybody reported to work. Because for us, we cannot have our customer stranded without communication. And we had a very tough day that day. We set up a war room, and I headed that war room to make sure that operations are brought back to normal. It was a really tough challenge that when you go to dash down and the company doesn't have cash, but employee were the greatest strength. And I'll share with you a couple of more examples. So our people at one of the airport, they contributed money from their personal account to fuel the aircraft. Mr. Dupare may know this story because he's in the fueling side. They drew money from their personal account, pay to the oil company to make sure the aircraft is flown. The customers are not stranded. We had one airport manager in one of the foreign destination who requested his wife to come to the airport to serve the customer so that the customers do not suffer. And from the 17 aircraft to today 118 aircraft, to the lowest load factor to the one of the highest load factor in the industry. And again, having a fleet of we have diversified ourselves over a period of time, having 5 dedicated freighter aircraft in our fleet, which has played a crucial role. We have got a dual fleet of Boeing as well as Q400 aircraft, which goes to the smaller, airports where the large aircraft cannot go. So, I mean, these tough times, come and go, but again, the tough people do last. So now we need to make sure that we take care of our organizations, we take care of people, and we take care of this new generation, because we owe this to our new generation, which is coming forward. Because one incident, you cannot get demoralized. These things will happen in life. So we have to take in a stride and move forward. Because I'm sure on 24th of March, if somebody would have talked, no, the airline will start and this will be 100% mask, 100% face shield, I'm sure your answer would have been, are you mad or what? But today this is a reality. So this is the new normal. I'm sure the whole world will get adjusted to this new normal. And one thing about the beauty of this country, which I'm sure most of us know, but there is something in our subconscious mind. Even if you close your eyes and get hold of a hand and ask the person, would you like to fly? I'm sure answer will be yes. If the second question comes, then why don't you fly? Answer will be because this is costly. And today the airline is not that costly. And why this is costly is not that airlines are making big bucks here, but there are a lot of taxation implication. What Mr. Dupare covered in his presentation, that aviation turbine fuel is the single largest cost we have. If government brings ATF under GST, goods and service tax, and with the full input tax credit, this industry will be highly benefited. So there are certain reforms, because, as we all know, that, a need is mother of invention. So today probably COVID has created a need. So I think all the stakeholders need to work together. How do we address this need? So a lot of needs have been addressed through usage of technology. And this is a good maybe opportunity for the government to carry out some structural reforms which will benefit this industry for a long period. So with this, I'll not take much of your time. Thank you so much.
So thank you so much. And this is a fantastic talk, and we were thoroughly enjoying it. And we wish that you could go on. And I'm sure we can touch base on another question. There are a lot of questions coming. And I must say, audience, that will take all your questions. And we have set up a special, a system to answer your questions also. So please don't feel disheartened that your questions are not being asked. We will take up the questions, but at this point of time, because of the paucity of time, I have to quickly move to the panel discussion. Please, Mr. Gupta, there are a lot of questions coming for you, and you can just check the question and answer session that people are just asking you questions. But I'll have to move
more than happy, whatever I can cover, I will cover, I'll separately answer.
So it was a fantastic talk, thoroughly enjoyed, and it was so nice. You were speaking from, the love of aviation was coming across. So I think this is what we all share here, that wherever we are, we love that place. And, that was evident in your presentation. So thank you so much. Now moving
Absolutely,
on to
my pleasure.
Moving on to panel discussion so quickly. Now I'll have the privilege of introducing Dr. Ashwani Khanna, the Executive Director, Aerotech Support Services, and Director at KSU Aviation Private Limited. He was also the Vice President, Terminal Operations at Delhi International Airport. There are a lot of things I can talk about Dr. Khanna, but I would just, in one line, would like to say that he is the right mix of technical and commercial side of aviation business, both in industry work and academic exposure. Amongst a handful of people in India as a specialist in aircraft recovery, he has been associated with ITA at the steering committee level, has vision of future sustainable aviation projects, and in a short time has been able to launch few first in industry. So Dr. Khanna, over to you and over to the panel discussion.
Thank you, ma'am. And first of all, very nice hearing almost everybody having a different perspective. And I think we will have a tough time putting their thoughts together and, making sure that a good outcome of this webinar comes out from reassuring people who want to travel, as well as people who want to join this industry for their future growth. There is still a lot in it and more to come. So with this, I will just quickly set a small context, and I would request our panelists to probably come forward. Um, why is aviation so important? I think something which is most important for all of us to understand at this time. The economy is going down, and I think for various reasons, people have been at home, businesses have been impacted. So, and aviation being one of the business, as people say. But aviation has a very large multiplier effect. That means it really boosts the economy much faster, or supports the economy much faster than maybe some of the other industries would be able to do. People travel with business, they are able to do more business, cargo, and when you put together, aviation has a multiplier effect. So we feel from the government, from the airline and the industry, the quicker they bounce back, the quicker they are on aircrafts back into the air, the quicker the economy has a possibility to bounce back. And I'm sure the government would realize that very soon. And some of these measures that they have announced, they would relook and would want to help the industry bounce back faster. And this will have, as I said, a multiplier effect on aviation. The other big thing with India is huge population, demographics of young people, urbanization, a lot of people. So when you look into the industry, definitely aviation demand is going to go up. So when the future looks very bright and now there is an issue, the problem or the challenge is the gap in between. How much is this time going to be, and how the airlines and the airports are going to survive this time, so that they can all see the future, the bright future, and experience the benefits from it. So with this, I would like to put across some questions. But before I come and go forward, if Mr. Damania is there, I would like to ask him a question on the ground handling industry, because that is one big support industry as the fueling is. If Mr. Damania is there, can I request you to unmute, please?
Yeah, tell me what you want to know.
Yes. So how is the ground handling industry impacted, and what are some challenges that you foresee for the ground handling industry, and in a phased manner that they come back into supporting?
See, first and foremost, ground handling industry supports. See, ground handling industry is 100% dependent upon aircraft coming to India. Most of the ground handling industries are handling international airlines. So, and they're very, very highly labor intensive. I think one thing to do is supply labor to all the international airlines. So absolutely the businesses come down to zero, except for maybe some charter flights coming in and out of India and a few cargo flights, the businesses come down to zero. And the other problem is the ground handling industries are highly labor intensive. And we do not know exactly what government policies are on labor. Right now, we are getting circulars upon circulars from state and central government that you cannot reduce the number of labor, you cannot reduce the salary. So these affect very, very badly. So I think the ground handling, right now I know for a fact that they've managed to pay up till 70% salaries. But as days go by, I don't know how long they will be able to sustain the salaries without firing a large number of people. So it's a very critical phase, and I hope they pull through like the airlines.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this. So we would come to our panel questions, if you all permit me. And the first question would go to Mr. Gupta. I think you ended your conversation regarding an experience SpiceJet had gone through a few years back, where it had come to almost, for a very, very small operational size, and you grew back again. From that challenge to this challenge of COVID-19, how would you compare these two challenges? And what do you think would be a strategy of something like SpiceJet as an airline to match these different kind of?
Okay, very good question. Actually, a very difficult one to answer. The challenge which was there in 2014 was more related to the efficiency of operation, because SpiceJet used to have a lot of cancellations, and the focus on on-time performance was not that much. So that was the two critical area which was, for us to improve. And the level of motivation and morale of the employees was also that very low. One thing, Dr. Ashwani, I would like to, I'm sure most of people on the panel are experienced one, but the beauty of human being is that if the normal output of an individual is 100, and if the same person is highly motivated and charged, that output can go up to 200 and 300. But if the same person is not that motivated and not that focused, the output can go down to 30 to 50. So what the range we are talking is 30 to 300, 10 times. So we were able to pull that back. We were able to motivate and charge our employees. Yes, it is our chance. It is our chance to prove. It is our chance to come back. It is our chance to demonstrate that we can do something different. And that motivation of the employee, and then correction, having zero cancellation policy, having highest on time, it brought us back into the business. Now, because that time the confidence of customer, there was nothing of that problem. Because now post COVID, there's the issue of number one, desire to travel. Definitely. Second, the feeling of insecurity that will I catch infection? Yes, all stakeholders in aviation, they're working together to demonstrate, yes, that this is the safest mode of travel, which I'm sure quite a lot has already happened and people know that well. However, in the background, there is a logistic chain. When you leave your house, you use taxi or public transport, and again going back, you use that. So that is a little bit of area. So government is working, and all these like taxi operators, they are working together to make sure that is safest. So one is this customer confidence, we all need to bring it back. Second is this financial strain which has happened on the airline, as Mr. Dupare said, that this is a perishable commodity. If the aircraft is grounded, so you have a committed fixed cost, but there is no revenue to take care of that cost. But at SpiceJet, maybe I will say we have been maybe lucky that we had this two-pronged strategy of freighter, because our freighter operations took a boom during this period, and we had a huge demand for freighter aircraft. So that supported our operations. Definitely, this is a big challenge. So customer confidence, as all the stakeholders, we are not worried about. They'll come back. But whether the people will travel. So one thing I can tell you, even if we ask all of us together, do you think can we be contained in a room, in a house, in an office? This is a natural desire to travel, that natural desire to move out of a place. That place may be your residence. I'm sure all of us, can we all say today, no, I will not go for holidays from now. I will not go to meet my in-laws, my friends, my relatives. I will not go. Answer is no, we will all go. So we all want that this COVID impact goes down, whether through vaccine, whether through so-called herd immunity, which develops in India. And a lot of people are talking about it, that herd immunity may come in India as early as in October. And this will be all behind. I'm sure India has seen Spanish flu, SARS, and all those things. So as a country, because there's a lot of homegrown demand. See, from India's perspective, the majority of the market or major dependence is what? Domestic travel. Internationally, we are not that much dependent. So yes, it will take maybe roughly 6 to 12 months to come back to pre-COVID level. But after that, in my opinion, this will be J curve of growth. And I think this industry will get over it very soon.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. This was enlightening again. Could I have a question for Mr. Bhaskaran, please? Mr. Bhaskaran?
Hi, Ashwani.
Yeah. So we're back again, Mr. Bhaskaran. So I think we recently realized that passengers were a little doubtful and not so confident as to what is happening at the airline airport level, and their level of confidence to come back when the flight starting was not very strong. And now that the flights have started, in your experience, what is AirAsia doing to ensure that these first flights that the passengers take, that their confidence is regained and they go and talk in public, that there is nothing to worry and this is an exceptional exceptionally good experience with all the conditions. I understand it cannot be the same, but people go satisfied passengers. What would be your opinion on that?
Yeah. So, Ashwani, I won't only talk about AirAsia, I'll talk about the entire ecosystem, and I think all airlines working towards it. But I can give you, and quite frankly, the most important piece is for us to get back the consumer confidence. I or Mr. Gupta, we can talk, till the cows come home of the air quality inside the aircraft, of all the technology which is there inside the aircraft, all the work which is happening in the ecosystem. But till that comes from the people who are actually traveling, it doesn't make any difference. They have to feel that there's really travel by air is the safest mode and the quickest mode. But let me share a couple of pointers. We measure NPS, the Net Promoter Score, to look at customer satisfaction. And of all the feedback we get from 25th, and we know everybody is very apprehensive coming to the airport, taking the flight, because they don't know how things have changed. But the feedback we get post the travel, our NPS scores are significantly higher. While one would have expected that the NPS scores would have dropped because of the way things have been. And quite frankly, I think things hopefully will get better, but the first week has been extremely poor in terms of the communication that has gone to the passengers, in terms of the measures that different cities have taken, different states have taken for the quarantine, whether there's an institutional quarantine or a house quarantine, whether there's a test before, test after, what are the procedures. So there's been a lot of it. It happened in a manner that in terms of the communication, I think we could have done better. But having said that, I think it was important that we started knowing fully well that these kind of hiccups would be there. So one pointer is that the feedback we get from the customers who have traveled is significantly better than what we had in average pre-COVID. That's number one. But I do feel that we need to do far more in terms of communication, maybe together as all the partners in the ecosystem, and try to build this confidence. But I think the confidence will build by itself for as many people as you go and travel. You go to an airport today, it's very, very different compared to what it was earlier. That's one. The second is, I think there are many surveys, and I think all of us have taken what we feel is a conservative view, but somebody could say it's pessimistic for a few factors. If you take the three big segments of air travel, one is business, one is the people who go for vacations, and the third is the people who are visiting friends and relatives. We're all clear that the business part of the travel will get impacted because people have got used to, these kind of communications. I think people have realized how powerful work from home is, how powerful virtual meetings are, how effective they are in terms of communication, coming to business decisions. So to that extent, with the fear or with the lack of confidence of having either a cure or a vaccine for the virus, people would probably shift a lot more to doing meetings, without the travel. And that's an impact for as far as that segment is concerned. I think at least for the next 12, 18, 24 months, there'll be a very, very significant cut down. The second is vacationing. Now, while international may not open up, there are other surveys that I have seen where people are just itching to go close. Now, whether it translates into a car drive or a drive holiday, or to hop on a domestic airline, we will see as this confidence piece builds up. The third one, and which is really alive and kicking in India, is the visiting friends and relatives, whether it's a shadi or a funeral or meeting a parent, or there's a huge number of, today we use the word migrant labor, but the fact is people like me, we are all migrants. We are born in a state and we are in another state, and we are working as part of the Indian dream. So the third part is the general perception is that it may come back quicker. So that's one data point. This other data point is, if you see the demographic of the passenger, 80% of the Indian passengers below 40 years, which is the least impacted or least vulnerable segment in terms of demographic to this disease. So it's a matter of, I think there will be a point at which there will be that shift, and I just hope more and more people travel and see the way Indian aviation has changed today, because I think it's seen to be believed. It just can't be mentioned on the way it is, and all the communication issues with quarantine and all has not helped. So I'm more of a confident, optimistic person on this, but I think we are planning, looking at data which probably shows that it may not be a good year.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bhaskaran. Though I would love to ask more questions, but we've really run out of time, and we just have a few minutes, and we would like to engage with all of you. As what would be the 3 key strategies or thoughts that you at AirAsia or representing an airline community would like to share going forward?
Yeah. So I would like to say hope, but hope is not a strategy. So, airlines are very heavily dependent on. It's a very heavy capital asset-based industry, and whether we like it or not, there are lots of fixed assets. Fixed costs that we have to incur. The biggest of them is the planes and the lease rentals that we have to pay. There are maintenance charges, whether the plane is down, there's a small percentage they have to pay. More of it happens when the planes are flying. And third, of course, large one is employees. And then there are other costs, insurances, the offices you work in and all that. So the fixed cost component is something that you probably have to carry because most people here are connected with the aviation industry and they know that we'd be happiest if we could cut the capacity, If I'm flying 33%, I have 30 aircraft, can I work with 10 and give back 20 aircraft? It's not possible because the leases in an aviation industry are something like what happens in shipping. They are very heavily weighted towards the lessor. The term which you may have heard, come hell or high water, which means there's no options of returning those. So I think the first part is to try and reduce your fixed cost. And the options of doing that are less. Different people look at the employees in different manner. I think we would like to believe. See, the Indian growth story on aviation is not dead, and which is what I was telling all the students who have joined. I think we have got to stop for 2 years. It may be 1 year, it may be 1.5 years, it may be 2 years. But there's like a pause. We have come and hit a pause button, and then it'll start all over again. India will become the third largest aviation market. I think it's extremely bright going towards 2030 and 2040. I think the multiplier impact to economy, which you mentioned about, is huge. So in any which way, aviation will come back. But how can we survive these 2 years? Because every airline is going to lose money. It's not about whether we can survive, break even. We are going to lose money. And I'm talking about only operations. Keep aside the sale and lease back income, which some companies have a big part portfolio of. So operationally, everybody is going to lose money. So it has to be supported by promoters or by whichever manner. In many countries, the government has stepped in to provide the support to give the liquidity. In India, knowing the state of the Indian economy and the level of richness of India overall as a country, I think it may be more difficult for the government to support, although we are hoping that the government supports. So I think the first part is to look at the costs. The second part is to ensure that, organizations come apart when you go through tough times. So it's very important to keep the general energy, the people, the systems, the procedures, not to come apart because, 2 months was a gap. And I think it's important for companies to keep that together. And the third most important thing is to get the confidence back of the traveling public as quickly as possible. That can't be done only by the airline by itself, but the entire ecosystem. I think India has done a good job of that, but we need to see that translate into actual confidence coming up.
Perfect, sir. I would say thank you so much. This gives a lot of confidence to all our viewers, and we would make sure that this thought process of the airline is communicated very well to the traveling public as much as we can through this forum. Coming to Mr. Gupta, there is one question that we would like to engage with you. This concerns airline, that most of the aircrafts were grounded for these last 2 months. As an airline, what would you like to convey to the traveling public that you have really looked after these aircrafts and they are as safe as they were before this COVID situation? And if you could like to throw a little bit more light on this, please.
Okay. So, in this aviation, this is one of the highly regulated industry, and the checks on the aircraft are very well, published, and they are documented in the manuals of the airline. And these manuals are approved by the Director General of Civil Aviation. And I can tell you one more thing: Director General of Civil Aviation has always eye what is happening, what is not happening. And the regional offices of this DGCA, they are in touch with an airline on everyday basis, especially at the ramp area, what is happening, what is not happening. And they do and physically do surveillance, inspection, and these audits. So that is from documentary regulatory perspective. From airlines perspective, it is all the more important for us to make sure that the aircraft are maintained well when they are grounded. Because when the aircraft is in air, definitely you have to, but when the aircraft is grounded, then probably your eye has to be much more sharper on that aircraft. Because there are a lot of, when the aircraft is grounded, there are a lot of nuisances on the ground, like of the reptiles, or the water seeping in somewhere, or this dust going into or these FODs, or, when the aircraft is unattended, you have a lot of risk of foreign object damage. Something can damage the aircraft. So aircraft is very well attended when the aircraft is on the ground. Now, coming back from SpiceJet's perspective, we had a continuous operation. One is definitely for the freighter operation. And there's another innovative thing which happened in India, which I would like to share with you, that the DGCA allowed the passenger aircraft to be used for freighter aircraft to carry the cargo on passenger seats. So one, there was a paucity of the aircraft, there are a lot of cargo which was awaiting movement. So you create capacity for this, that. And second, the aircraft is utilized. So what we did at SpiceJet on a systematic manner, we kept using the aircraft for one thing or another. In addition to this, we did some of the relief flights as well. So our aircraft was continuously put on usage on a rotation basis.
Perfect, Mr. Gupta. Thank you so much. I will quickly, we have just 4 or 5 minutes and we would like to, run past with our panelists on some of these things. My apologies. We'll come back to you with more questions in a written form and share with our audience the answers. Mr. Chourey, from an airport's point of view, what would be the 3 key important points that you would like to communicate, if you can be very quick over here, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Ashwani. Number one would be, as other panelists have said, the confidence building with the passengers. As in, all the stakeholders of the aviation industry needs to build a confidence in the passengers that yes, aviation is the safest mode of transport. Number two is what I feel is the cost effectiveness, cost cutting. Since because of the limited load factors or the what tough time we are going to face, we have to be very cost conscious. And last but not the least, we will have to see what the industry across the world is going and doing. We will have to follow the best practices and build our capacity back to the normal. Thank you.
Thank you, Chourey sir. Some questions for Mr. Damania. These are more to do with some government policies. Mr. Damania, if you would like to just be quick to throw some light, as there have been an aviation relief package announced by the government. Do you feel this is good? And would you like to quickly comment on it? Sir, you'll have to unmute. Sir, you'll have to unmute.
No. I'm very, very sorry to say there is no relief package. I mean, the industry was looking forward to the finance minister with great expectation, and there was a lot of talk that some relief will come, but there is no relief. The 3 points announced by the finance minister is absolutely no relevance on the industry as of today. What they had said, the 3 points, they said that they are reducing the GST on MRO. This MRO is in the 2006 policy of civil aviation, new civil aviation policy. When will MRO come? When will they form? When will the GST be reduced? And still will it be economical to give aircrafts in India? We don't know. How will that affect the airlines today that are suffering so badly? Second point they brought out is they are going to give 6 more airports to private parties. How does it affect the airline? How does that hurt the airline today? And then they are going to reduce increase the airspace from 60% to more, which will reduce the flying time. This program has been going on by the government in the Gagan scheme since a long time. Today, the airlines are suffering. Today, the government could have brought in a lot of issues which the airlines have been pleading by blinking the fuel under GST, moratorium on loans, maybe loans at reduced interest. And there are a lot of issues. I wrote a huge article in the Indian Express on what the government can do. But I think nothing has happened. I'm sure the aviation companies, the airline companies must appeal to the government at a different level. But I think there is absolutely no relief at all. So I'm sorry to say, which could have been done a lot, nothing has been done. And I'm sure the AirAsia and SpiceJet people would agree with me.
No, thank you so much for your thoughts. But in case You have to say 3 things that you wish the government should come forward with, which will support everyone. Which would be that quick?
No. I think they can give moratorium on loans. They can reduce GST under aviation under GST, waiver of landing, parking, navigation charges, reduce airport authority charges. The airport authority can come forward and do things to support government.
Good,
also, a lot of countries have come forward with direct packages to the aviation industry. We have done nothing of that sort.
Thank you so much, Mr. Damania. We once again apologize. We would love to continue to discuss and have your ideas on this. I would request Dr. Sheetal to take over. Mr. Dupare's points, Mr. Dupare, we will write back to you. I feel one of the most important points we would have wanted to check with you is how the capex investment of the fuel industry is getting hit or decisions on the COVID-19 impact. But in case in a few seconds you can say something, we would still.
All I can say is that we have not stopped our capex programs. We are going for a major expansion at Bangalore International Airport. Our fuel farm and the hydrant system, it is close to 250 crores, and we are not stopping it. It was for a long term, and we are continuing with that program.
Very good.
Thank you.
Reassuring. Dr. Khanna, can I request you to kindly take over, please?
Thank you so much. It was just so fantastic that I wouldn't want to stop. I think in every person there is a teacher who wants to go on and express. So before I request Dr. Tarun Dhingra to come up and I'm so accustomed to say come up to start summing up briefly this session. I must extend a warm welcome to all of you to the beautiful campus in Dehradun. And whenever the situation gets better and you feel comfortable, please do come and pay us a visit, and you'll be delighted to see our facilities, and our students will be so much fortunate to meet you in person. Over to you, Dr. Dhingra.
Thank you, Dr. Sheetal. Thank you. Frankly speaking, it's a tough job to briefly explain what all these people with more than 150 years experience combined have said in last 1.5 hours. But I will dare to do some. So please, I apologize in advance if I'm not able to, do justice with all of your great thought process. I would like to just be very brief because we are running short on time. I would start the one thing which I found common across most of the people is reassurance. So assurance in terms of that aviation is still a bright sun. It may have seen a pause, but it is bound to come back. It will see the normalcy, and new normal may go back to the older normal where people love to fly. And then safety issues which are very, very important for all of us to know that actually the safest mode of travel is the air travel. So I thanks a lot to all people who have actually contributed in that. And the 3 ways to move forward. One is obviously you have to do a lot of collaboration with the stakeholders. You have to deliver a lot of things digitally, and as well as you have to be very supple or nimble-footed. Now, the standard operating procedure of screening, etc., is doing well as decided by AI. It is being done very well, and it's a tough time. We actually are having a trade-off between economy and health. So we have already tried for 3 months for having only one variable called health. Now we have understood we actually cannot remain on either our X or Y axis. We have to do some sort of a dy by dx. So we are actually saying economy has to sustain along with the precautions. So we may be able to do that. And aviation, as we know, is one of the largest contributor in GDP. And the indirect impact of that in terms of employment and other contribution for consumption is very, very high. So we have to be, a bit more focused on aviation. The data which is coming related to this is, let's say COVID is, we actually been able to contain that on a significant level, because in a country of 130 crore population, the active cases are still around 80, 85,000. Then the lifeline like IOC or Skytanking, they are continuously working to provide support. They have not even thought of doing any capex, stopping. So they are positive. They want confidence to come back and to move forward. And the important thing is the management must rely on people, as is the basic sounding logic I could get from Mr. G.P. Gupta's speech, that if you rely on people, if they have faith in you, they can even work 200 or 300%. The broad summary of panel discussion, I would say, is that there are three, four things which we have to do. The first one is we have to create a confidence back. Obviously, this COVID is bound to augment, bound to do some changes in the behavior of segment, like people who do normal vacationing or business, or who do visit a friend. So maybe we are now becoming more used to working from home. So business travel may see some decline, but it's a very, very fixed cost based industry, and fixed cost based industry, as you all know, require volume, and present time does not even give any avenue for volume. So these are something. And last, I would like to say that still there is a requirement from government support for this sector. This sector is one of the largest contributor. So this sector must get some support. The support given by government is good, but it is for more for long term. They require immediate pain relieving measure. So I believe this is my attempt to summarize. I hope I did some justice.
Thank you so much. Yes. And now I would like to request Dr. Anand, HOD of the Department of Transportation, to pose a brief vote of thanks. Over to you, Dr. Anand.
Thank you, Dr. Sheetal. Am I audible?
Yes, please go ahead, Dr. Anand.
Thank you, Dr. Sheetal, for giving me the opportunity to speak in front of luminaries. I think I thank to Dr. Ashwani Khanna. I am pleased to see him first time as Dr. Ashwani Khanna. I think I've always been with him whenever we discuss that when his PhD will be over. So I'm really glad that he is holding this first webinar with UPS and we all together as academician. So I'm really glad personally to see you as Dr. Ashwani Khanna hosting this webinar. Allow me to speak one or two lines regarding my department, how UPS is contributing to aviation industry, as we have listened to various dignitaries from different spheres of life. So I would just briefly discuss the programs we are offering. We have undergrad and postgrad programs in logistics as well as aviation from Department of Transportation Management under SOB at UPS. So we have undergrad program BBA Aviation Operations, BBA AVO. We have BBA Logistics Management. We have started BBA Tourism and Hospitality Management last year. So 3 undergrad programs. And then we have MBA LSCM program, that is Logistics and Supply Chain Management in 2008, which was started. And we have MBA Aviation Management, which is not having many seats. We have only 20 seats in MBA. But I think our BBA program is one of the flagship programs under undergrad with 80 students. And those who are connected today, fortunately, I think they know and they are connected to our students, those who are serving on the airport or airlines in the aviation industry, contributing to the Indian economy through airlines or aviation sectors. I remember the lines, what Hitler said years ago: never give up, never give up, never give up. I believe Hitler said years ago, and we Indians, we practice it more than, so we are not here to give up any time, and we find our own ways. And that's how we all have gathered here to discuss our own opinion. And I hope the entire audience, which was huge in number, including industry professionals, scholars, students, faculty members from all spheres of life. I think I'm pleased to see the chat box. I think it's 120 plus chats in Q&A, and very few could be answered by panelists, keeping in mind the paucity of time. So it is my proud privilege to extend my thanks to each of the panelists. First one is Mr. Bhaskaran, who touched upon ventilation, a very technical issue which he addressed, like how they take care of the customers in the aircraft. and discuss the technicality part. Then Mr. Vivek Chourey, who touched upon Vande Mataram and other initiatives which government has taken and how they're contributing through their company. Then Mr. Damania, I think he has nicely tried to cover the most of curiosity out of participants, what they were asking related to regulatory issues and the role of various stakeholders and regulators, how Indian aviation industry can really emerge out of this COVID situation. I think we have also been discussing as academician that when ATF will be brought under GST, I think we have to go a long way. But this is the best time, I think, when the regulators really wake up and do something to support aviation industry, which I personally feel. Then I think Dr. Gupta, I'm really touched because, I feel my personality matches more with Dr. Gupta. I will call him Dr. Gupta. I think the way he has narrated very passionately. I think I was too much, absorbed in when he was discussing his experience. And fortunately, I will support what he said. It's very difficult to contain ourselves to our houses. And I can witness, I can support this with evidence. That 2 students are with me right now from Kerala who want to fly back to their hometowns. So what he said is absolutely true. And I'm the one who is connected to the students along with our faculty members. And they are the one who are really struggling back to, struggling to go back to their places. So their parents are keenly awaiting. And I could see some difference in terms of state and central government, what I think Mr. Gupta only touched upon. There was no clear-cut policy in the first week that whether they are going to be quarantined at home or at institution. So that's how I think maybe things didn't work well in first week. Things will be normal very soon. One of our faculty member herself is stuck up in Tanzania. She's also desperately looking back to the country. So this is what I think everybody is keen to fly back. And first time I realized that I always used to say railway is the safest mode. But today I realized that airlines is safer than railways. Under the COVID, I think I would agree to that. And I've changed my opinion today that airlines is safer than railways. Then Mr. Gupta, I think he has elaborated immensely. I think all the points he has touched upon and focused more on customer side. I think he's elaborated each and every initiative and the measure their airlines has taken to see that how they can build the customer's confidence. And last but not the least, Mr. Dupare, I think, who touched upon how the fueling business is happening. He discussed the loading factor and how it is going down. And lastly, what I conclude that all the panelists agree that it's a matter of time. We are not going to see the same normal what we are seeing right now. So this new normal will be very soon. We'll get back to the original normal. So I am glad to be with you all. As last but not the least, we always say no dinner is complete without dessert. As in Rajasthan, there is no dinner complete without papad. So here, this opportunity, the panelists have given to me, the organizers have given to me as the team member. So once again, thanks to everybody who has contributed, all the panelists on the organizing teams, my colleagues, senior colleague, Dr. Geeta, our SOP Dean, Dr. Sheetal Khanka, who has been always passionate. I can see the smile, I think, throughout the panel. I think she was entirely absorbed in the discussions, listening to that. Dr. Tarun Dhingra, I always call him strategic guru. I think he's always keen to come out with the new ideas. And the the person who walked behind, Mr. Akhil Damodaran. Can you show, I think, can we see him? Mr. Akhil Damodaran, he is a person, I think, who is, I really forgot that he's a person who is very passionate about airlines. So I hope all of us will contribute to the aviation industry and things will be back to the normal very soon. So once again, we'll say it is better to be late than never. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Anand.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thanks a lot for your time.